Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm Carrie. We're going to be doing a fundamental Pilates movement flow. We're going to be working through some basic fundamental movements that are critical to mastering as you prepare to move forward into a deeper Pilates practice. So, thanks for joining me. You want to be barefoot, you want to have a mat, that's all you need. And we're going to come down onto our backs, which is where we're going to begin. We're going to just take a few minutes to kind of settle in. You want your knees bent, your feet flat, hip width apart. They're not drawn in too tightly, so they should be in a place where you feel relaxed in the hips, relaxed in the knees. Reach those fingers away from your body, pull those shoulders down. We're going to start with some breath work, so take your hands onto your rib cage and just relax here. And what we're going to do is posterior lateral ribcage breathing. So the idea here is to inhale and feel the circumference of your ribcage getting bigger. And you can feel that ribcage pushing out into the palms of your hands. And then as you exhale, feel the ribcage contracting. So inhale through your nose and exhale either through your nose or your mouth. And you don't need to look at the camera right now. You know how to breathe. So just look straight up to the sky. Breathing in through the nose, expanding that rib cage. Exhaling through the nose or mouth, narrowing the rib cage. And we want to find this breath not affecting our spine in any way. So you don't want to be trying to bear down to push the air out, but you do want a full inhalation and a full exhalation. Good. We're going to do one more. So that is our breath work. The second move we're going to go on to is going to be imprinting. So for imprinting, we're going to keep our hands down on our hip bones. So go ahead and find your hip bones. And maybe you can put your hands up around your waist a little bit. So you kind of feel your hip bones around your pinkies and then feeling your waist here. And what we want to do is feel our neutral spine to start with. So just scanning your back and noticing that you have natural curves in your back. So you're starting at your skull. The back of your skull is touching the mat. And then we have the cervical curve under the neck. We come down into the thoracic spine, the rib cage, and we are in contact with the mat. As we move down into our lumbar spine, there's enough space that air can flow probably under that in a normal kind of average spine. And then we come down to the sacrum and the pelvis, and once again, we're in contact with the mat. So those are the natural curves of our spine. And what we want to do with imprinting is try to flatten just a little bit. So you're going to take an inhale through the nose, and on the exhale, I want you to just feel like the back of your body is just getting heavier. Maybe feel like you're sitting on a beach and you're just sinking into the sand. Maybe your low back is coming a little closer to the mat without bearing down. So inhale back to that neutral spine, and exhale, that same breathing we did, the ribs draw together. The back body gets heavy, so pressing the back of the head, the back of the ribs, the lumbar spine flattens a little bit. Even your feet are pressing down into the ground. And then you inhale, releasing back to that neutral spine. So this is a subtle movement. And exhale. Now what I want you to do on those exhales is just become aware of a slight contraction in your abdominals. So as you imprint, just inside of those hip bones, you're going to feel a little tightening of your abdominals. So I don't want you to try and suck in your abdominals or hollow out your center. Just want you to feel as you lengthen the back and bear down, feeling heavy, that you are actually starting to engage some abdominal work. One more time, inhaling through the nose, big inhale, rib cage expands. Exhaling, nose or mouth, rib cage contracts, back body sinks down into the floor, abdominals slightly contract. So that is your imprinted spine, okay? It's not a big movement. The next movement we're going to do is going to be our pelvic tilt. So now we do get to move that lower spine a little bit. So again, we're keeping the hands down low. And what I want you to do is find those bony protrusions of your hips. Those are 2 points of your pelvis, and then your pubic bone. That's the third point. And this is, think of this as your pelvic bowl. So right now when you're lying in your neutral spine, we want to have those 3 points in the same plane. So they're flat to each other. And what we're going to do is imagine that we have a bowl in our center here in our pelvis. And you can either imagine that there is a marble sitting in the center of that bowl, or that bowl is filled with a little bit of water. And you're very still in your neutral spine, so that the water or the marble is just sitting still. The marble's in the center of the bowl. And what we're going to do, we're going to start with a posterior tilt. That means that we are going to bring that pubic bone up higher than those bony protrusions of your hips. And that flattens our back. And you can imagine that you're swooshing the water towards your chest or rolling the marble towards your chest. And then we're going to come back to that neutral spine. Inhale. So let's do that again. Exhale, roll the water, roll the marble towards your chest. Exhale, and back to neutral. Inhale here, exhale, roll it in. Inhale, back to neutral. Now I'm not doing anything with my glutes or my legs. Everything there is relaxed. I'm merely using my abdominal muscles to press my low back down as I lift my pubic bone up. Good, one more time. And as you come back to neutral, I want to make sure that that rib cage is not lifting. All right, so that was our posterior tilt. Now we're going to do an anterior tilt. Same idea, only now the hip bones are going to end up higher than that pubic bone, because we're going to drop the pubic bone forward as if you're pouring water or rolling that marble between your legs. Your back arches off of the floor, and then we come back to that neutral spine. Good, so inhale. Exhale, dump the water or the marble forward, arching that back, and inhale back to the center. Exhale, dumping it forward, and inhaling back. Good, you might start to feel some abdominal work. 2 more times. And 1 more. So we've done our posterior and our anterior tilt. We're back in neutral. Now what we're going to do is try to move our pelvis side to side. So what I want you to do is feel like the left hip is getting really heavy, and you're going to dump the water to the left side. Now that means that the right hip bone just came up a little bit higher than that left hip bone. And back to neutral. Let's just try that same side. Dump it over to the left. Notice that your knees and thighs are still, and back to neutral. And again, dump it over to the left and back to neutral. Now let's dump it to the right. So drop your right hip, feel that right buttocks getting heavy. As you rotate, the left hip rises up a little bit, and you come back to neutral. Good. So again, we're trying to mobilize in our pelvis without anything else moving. So we're not lifting a shoulder, we're not lifting the rib cage, keep going. We're not moving the knees to the side. We're just merely trying to dump that water or roll that marble to the right side. Last time, and coming back to neutral. Good. So now we're going to do the pelvic clock, and basically what we're going to do is swish that water all the way around the bowl, or roll that marble all the way around the bowl. So we start off rolling the marble or swishing the water up towards the chest, and now we're going to dump it to the left side, and we're going to dump it between the legs, and we're going to drop it to the right, and we're going to circle back up to the chest. That was one direction. Now let's go the other way. Dump it to the right, down between the legs, over to the left, and up to the chest. Good, 2 more times. Back to the left, circling around. Let's try to keep those legs fairly still and see if we can mobilize that pelvis. So Pilates, last time to the right. Pilates is all about finding mobility in certain parts of our body while we have stability or no movement in other parts. Good, and let's relax back to that neutral spine. So that was your pelvic bowl. Okay, our next movement we're going to do is, moving along in our handout here, we're going to do the knee sway. So now, rather than keeping the legs stable and the pelvis moving, we're changing it to the pelvis being stable and the legs moving. So again, let's just get comfortable and let's get that pelvic bowl in a neutral position. So that pubic bone and hip bones are in the same plane. And what I want you to do is to sway your knees to the right without rolling in any way, without lifting the hip and coming back to neutral, and then sway the knees to the left. Good, and back to neutral. So you're just gonna slowly, this is a small, subtle movement. What we're trying to find is how we can rotate the femur in the hip joint without the rest of the body, especially the pelvis, moving. Good. So let's just do it one more time each side. This is your knee sway. So we're starting to find out how we can move our legs and our knees and our thigh bones without moving anything else. Great. Okay, the next thing we do is our knee lift. So we're going to find that neutral spine again. And what I want you to do is to lift up your left leg effortlessly. So to do that, you need to stabilize that pelvis and to stabilize the back. Maybe you feel a little bit of engagement in those abdominals, so maybe you feel like you're tightening. And all I want you to do is take an inhale. On your exhale, you're just going to float that knee off the floor and lift, and that foot off the floor and lift up that knee. And inhale, we're just going to lower that leg. So let's do that 4 more times. Exhale, lifting the leg, and inhale, lowering it down. So as I lift the leg, I want to make sure not to lift my sacrum or curl it in any way. 2 more. And this should be no effort. Yes, you're using your hip flexors, but try to relax. Try not to make it a big movement. Good. All right, we're going to just do the right leg now. So stabilize, engage the pelvic floor, and let's just lift up that leg on your exhale and inhale it down. Inhaling through the nose, filling the ribs. Exhale, drawing the ribs together without doing anything in your back. It's just that the air is leaving your body, making the circumference of the ribcage smaller. Good. One more time. And relax. So that is your knee lift. Now we're going to do our knee thigh stir. So again, we're going to take that left leg up to tabletop position. Tabletop is that your knee is over your hip, your shin is parallel to the floor, and we're going to put our hands on that knee. So again, we're trying to find stability in our pelvis as we have mobility in our hip joint. So we're going to do 5 circles one direction. And they're little, but what you're focusing on is not moving the right leg at all, and not moving the back, not moving the pelvis, not moving the shoulders. Good, let's go the other direction. So it's just a little stir of the knee. It's not big. Maybe you can feel that you're starting to use that transverse abdominis, those deep internal abdominal muscles to stabilize your core, stabilize your body. Let's put that foot down and do the other side. Lift it up, tabletop position, find your neutral spine, and we're just going to do 5 circles, small circles, as if you're painting a little saucer-sized circle on the ceiling with your knee. Stability everywhere else, and we're going the other way around. Notice this is not about the knee extending and flexing. This is just movement in the hip joint. And we put that leg down. Moving on to our leg slide. So now what we're going to do is stabilize while we extend our hip and our knee. So let's go ahead and put our hands on that pelvis to remind us to keep it neutral. And take your inhale. On your exhale, slide that left leg away from you all the way down on the mat. Inhale, pull the toes back, lengthening that leg. Now, make sure you're not arching your back here. Good. Exhale, draw that leg back in. Let's do it again. Inhale, start the movement on the exhale. Slide it away. Try not to extend that back anymore. Pull the toes back, inhale. Relax the foot, exhale, draw it in. Good. So the important thing here is that we don't get into any extra back extension. So exhale, push it away. Inhale, dorsiflex that foot. Exhale, relax the foot, pull it in. Good, let's do the right leg. Inhale to start. Exhale, slide the leg away from you. Inhale, dorsiflex the foot. Push the heel away, pull the toes back. Check what's happening in your back and your hips. Stay level. Relax the foot, exhale, pull it in. Inhale. Exhale, slide it away. Inhale, flexing the foot. Exhale, relax the foot, draw it in. Let's do one more. Inhale, exhale, slide it away. Inhale, pull the toes back. Exhale, relax the foot and draw it in. So you may have felt some back work starting to work there because of the long lever of that leg as it slides away into that full extension. Now we're going to move into bridging. So we're going to start with a neutral bridge. So we've talked about this neutral spine a lot, so let's find it again. This time we're going to put our arms down by our sides just in case we need a little assistance. All right. So when we do this bridge, first of all, it is not very high. And secondly, what we're trying to do is to keep the pelvis neutral. We're trying to keep those hip bones and that pubic bone in the same plane. All right, we're trying to keep we're trying to keep the distance between them the same. So even though they're going to be on an angle, because you're going to lift your hips up, but they're not closer together. When we did a posterior tilt, we brought the pubic bone up, but we also brought the pubic bone closer to the hips. We don't want to do that in our neutral bridge or our glute bridge. We want to keep the distance nice and constant here. So think about that. So as we engage, we're going to be pushing in our feet so that we can use our hamstrings. Think about your inner thighs, those adductors helping you also. Take an inhale. On your exhale, let's just lift those hips up just a few inches. Good. So we need to we don't want to curl, we don't want to extend, and we're just going to drop back down. So there's a lot of back work in those back extensors going on. Inhale, exhale, lift. Inhale at the top, and exhale back down. Good, we're going to do 3 more. Inhale, exhale, lift. Inhale at the top, exhale down. 2 more. Inhale at the bottom, exhale, lift. Inhale at the top, exhale, down. Let's do 1 more. Inhale, press in those legs, engage those inner thighs and those glutes a little bit. Hamstrings, and come back down. Nice. So that's your neutral bridge. Now, we're also going to learn the articulating bridge. And the purpose of the articulating bridge is to learn how to segmentally move your spine. So we start off by finding that pelvic bowl, and we find that posterior tilt. So we roll or swish the water or roll the marble towards your chest. Good. Now what you're going to do is keep rolling, and your tailbone leaves the mat, and you keep rolling off of your spine until you're basically on the bottom of your shoulder blades. Good. We're still trying to keep that curl. So you've really, even though you're up in the air now, you're trying to bring that pubic bone up closer to those hip bones, closer to those ribs. Good. We're bringing the distance between the ribs and the hip bones smaller too, and now we're just going to roll back down. Nice. So I don't want you to use a lot of hamstrings and glutes in this. I really want you to work your abdominal muscles and your back muscles. So let's do it again. Inhale to start. Exhale, we bring that pubic bone up and we keep going, keep going, keep going, rolling off the spine. When you get to the top, I want you to feel like you're pushing your knees over your big toes. Now starting with your sternum, curl your spine, lower through your thoracic spine, down through your lumbar spine, and finally to your sacrum, and you find that neutral curve. And again, we exhale as you curl and lift. You can think of your spine as a piece of cooked spaghetti lying on the counter. I like this visual. And you pick up one end of the spaghetti and you peel it off the counter, and then you slowly try to lie the spaghetti back down onto the counter in a straight line. Let's do one more. Inhale. Exhale, curling that pelvis, curling the spine, peeling the spaghetti about 2/3 of the way off the counter. So we're still on our shoulder blades, a little bit of spaghetti is still on the counter, and then we're going to lie it back down, curl that spine, until we come all the way back down to the sacrum and relax into that neutral spine. So those are our two kinds of bridging. Okay, we're going to change positions now. We're going to get onto our stomachs in our prone position. And we're going to start with prone leg lifts. So you're going to lie palm over palm, elbows out to the side, and forehead resting on your hand. And legs can be apart, slightly apart. That's probably more comfortable. And what we need to do here is we need to imprint our pelvis again. So finding that pubic bone and those two pointy hip bones, we're going to let those sink down into the mat. And we want to sink our chest a little bit into the mat. But we want to lift the midsection. So think about pulling your navel up off the mat. Good. All right, so we're working on hip extension now. What we're going to do is reach the legs long, so toenail side is down, really lengthening through your back, lengthening through your legs. So we don't want to have any crunching going on here in the low back. We want to lengthen. And what I want you to think about is lifting your right thigh off the mat. Hold and release. Good. Inhale. Exhale, lift that leg. Pause and release it down. Good. Let's do it again. Lifting it up. We're going to do it one more time. And lower it down. Let's go to the other leg. Keeping that hip bone down, imprinted onto the mat, and lower the leg. So we're finding hip extension, again, as our mobility in our hip. Feeling some back muscles and some glutes working one more time. Without moving the pelvis. So now let's alternate the legs. So let's do the right leg. Inhale, lift. And release. Left leg lift. Draw that navel up. And release. Let's do one more each side. Lift. And release. Last time, lift. And release. Good. All right, now for our big finale here with the leg lifts, we're going to try and lift both legs at once. So again, it's really important here to keep the tension out of the shoulders and the neck. We're going to imprint that pelvis, so hip bones and pubic bone are pushing down into the ground. We're going to take an inhale. On your exhale, let's lengthen the legs and lift them both off the mat, lifting the thighs and down. Good. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, lift. And inhale down. And that is as much as we're going to do with those prone leg lifts. All right. So you probably feel a lot of back activation. That's good. That's back muscles. The next thing we're going to do is our cervical nod. So we're going to change our hand position. Your elbows are going to come slightly lower than your shoulders so that your fingers are pointed forward, thumbs are kind of close to your chin line. And let's imprint that pelvis again. And what I want you to do is to lift your head looking down so that your nose is just off the mat. You can close your eyes if you want to, because it's a little bit, I don't know, it makes my eyes hurt to be so close to the mat. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to nod your chin. So drop your chin down towards your neck, and then lift your chin forward. Good. So this is our cervical nod. Drop the chin and lift the chin. Now we're not using our back. We're only in the cervical part of our spine. So we're moving our head, we're moving our cervical spine. Good. Let's come back to that neutral position. So your nose just clears the mat, you're looking down. We're going to do rotation. So again, imprint that pubic bone, lift the navel. We're going to turn the head to the right, and back through center, and turn the head to the left, and back through center. So we're just turning side to side. So we're going to be doing cervical nods both on our stomachs like we are, and then later on our backs. One more time. And you can take your hands forward and rest your head down, and you can rock your hips side to side if you're feeling a little bit of tightness into your back. All right, before we turn over, we're going to do one more exercise, and this one is called flight. So we're going to take our hands down by our legs, and we're going to rest our head. So once again, we want that nose to clear the mat. And you want to kind of grab your thighs on the outside of your legs so that we're opening those collarbones and reaching as far down your leg as you can. Good. Now keeping the toenail side of the feet, top side of the feet, pushing down into the mat, keeping the pubic bone and the hip bones imprinted. We're going to inhale and we're going to lift the chest without the head and neck moving, and exhale down. So now we're mobilizing the thoracic spine without mobilizing the cervical spine. So we've got mobility in our upper back, stability in our cervical spine. Let's do two more. Inhale, reach back, open those collarbones, exhale down. One more time. Inhale, lift, reach, 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 pubic bone pushing down, hips down, and exhale. And relax. You can rock your feet side to side, your hips, release it all. And we're going to turn over onto our backs again. So we're back to that cervical nod. This time we're going to do supine. So we're back on our backs, getting comfortable again. Again, feet flat, knees bent, not too tight, just a nice position, neutral in the spine. Okay, we're going to do the cervical nod. So it's a little different here because your head is resting on the mat. So what you're going to do is, again, you're going to drop your chin down towards your chest without lifting your head. So basically your skull, back of your skull is sliding on the mat, and then you're going to come to neutral. Let's do it again. Drop your chin, it slides, and then come back to neutral. So similar idea, we're trying to once again move the head without arching the back, so make sure that those rib cage are sinking down into the mat. Good, one more. And let's do our rotation. So drop your cheek to one side, making sure that the shoulder, the opposing shoulder, stays down, and then to the other side. Good, back and forth a few times. Mobility in that cervical spine, finding rotation in the cervical spine without having to move anything in the shoulder girdle or the rib cage or the back. Good. Okay, and then we're going to do little nose circles. So if you think about your nose having an extension of like a paintbrush, a really long paintbrush, all we want to do is paint a little circle on the ceiling. So we're going to drop your chin and take it around to the other side. Good. Let's just do 3 in this direction. It's very subtle, it's very small. And when you get up to the top, let's just go the other way around. Just getting some mobilization in that neck. And that's your nose circles. All right, now we're going to work on our head float. So of all the exercises, I think this is actually one of the hardest because it uses a lot of neck muscles, and you do need strong neck muscles to be able to do Pilates. Because even though you're using your abdominals a lot, there is still the weight of your head, and your head is supported by your neck muscles. Your head is not supported by your abdominal muscles. There's just no connection between your stomach muscles and your head. So it's those neck muscles we need to strengthen. And that's what the head float is all about. So find that neutral spine. What we're going to do is lift the head just ever so slightly on your exhale. So take a big inhale, and you're just going to lift it straight up off the mat and relax back down. So maybe even you're only coming up enough that your hair is still touching the floor. So on your inhale, prepare it, and then exhale, lift it straight up. And then come back down. Good, let's do 2 more. On your exhale, you lift it straight up and inhale down. Last one, exhale up and inhale down. Now, this next 2 we do, we're going to add the cervical nod at the top of the float. So, take your inhale, exhale, head float, and now drop your chin, cervical nod. Don't come up any higher. It's not a chest lift. It's just a cervical nod. Look back up and release down. Good. Let's do it one more time. So we're going to float the head off the mat, and now just your head moves. Drop your chin to your chest. Look at your abdominals, and then lower down. Beautiful. Okay, that was your chest head lift, head float with a chin nod. Now we're going to work on our rib cage. So we've talked a lot in the beginning about how we stabilize our pelvis. Now we need to find stability in our thoracic spine as we move our arms. So we're going to take our arms overhead. Thumbs are pointed back. Now find that neutral spine. And I want you to lengthen your arms without lifting your shoulders off the mat. So nice long arms. But you're anchored. Your shoulder blades and your shoulders are down on the mat. Now what we're going to do is reach back, keeping those ribs from popping out. So we have to engage the ribs, and you're only going to go as far as you can before you feel like the ribs want to pop. So I just showed you what that would look like, right? I can get all the way back if I lift my ribs up in the air. But if I put my ribs back down, I don't have that mobility in my shoulders. And then we're going to bring those arms all the way forward to our hips and lower it down. So let's do that again. Inhale to the sky. Keep those ribs down. Push your ribs down into the mat. Exhale, reach back. Good. Inhale up to the sky and exhale down to your hips. Let's do it one more time. Inhale to the sky. Exhale back. Drop your ribs into the floor. Inhale to the sky and exhale those arms down. Nice. So that's keeping that rib cage stable, that thoracic spine stable, mobility in the shoulders. Let's move your arms laterally. So let's do the same thing. We're going to open the arms to the side without popping the rib cage. And then exhale, bringing them up. Good. Inhaling to the side and exhaling back up. Something we haven't talked about yet is our scapula or our shoulder blades, and we don't want those involved here. So we want those shoulder blades to just stay still on the mat. Good, let's do one more. Nice. So arm circles and arm movement is a big part of Pilates without involving the spine. So again, mobility of the spine and stability in the torso. I'm sorry, mobility in the arms and stability in the torso. We are getting towards the end. Okay, we need to talk about rotating arms. So let's take those arms to the side, palms up. They're slightly lower than your shoulders because I don't want you getting up in your neck. So reach them long. And now what I want you to do is think about rotating, starting with your upper arm. We're going to rotate your arm forward and your hand turns palm down, but the motion started in your upper arm, and then it starts in your upper arm again, and you bring it back where you started. Good. So this is rotating arms without movement anywhere else. So again, rotation in the shoulder joint, and bring it back. Now we're going to do our rotating arms in opposition. So what I want you to do is leave your right hand palm up, take that left arm and turn it in, and let that shoulder come up a little bit. Good. Now as you bring that shoulder back, you're going to turn your right arm in and lift that shoulder. Good. So we have some inward rotation of the shoulder, and the opposite shoulder is staying in external rotation. Let's just do 2 more. So we're learning to move our shoulders independently, and we're learning to move our shoulders without the rib cage being involved, or the thoracic spine. So this was shoulder movement, not back movement. Let's go ahead and sit up for our torso twist. So we're going to sit cross-legged, but if that's not comfortable for you, you can extend a leg or whatever's comfortable. So 2 options with our arms. We can either put our hands comfortably at our rib cage, or you could take your genie arms. And what we're going to do is our torso twist. So the idea here is mobility in the spine, again, stability in the pelvis. So whichever way you want to do your arms, think about moving your torso, not moving your arms. So let's rotate to one side, sitting up nice and tall, like someone's pulling you up through the crown of the head. Inhale. Exhale back to center. And then let's go the other way. Inhale, rotate. Exhale back to center. If you imagine that your torso is a dish towel, inhale and wring that towel out. That's your waist, wringing the towel out, and then exhale back to center. Good, let's wring it the other way. Grow taller through the crown of the head and come back. One more time each direction. Inhale, we twist. Exhale, returning to center. Inhale, twist. And exhale, returning to center. So rotation is a big part of Pilates, and making sure that we're actually rotating the torso and not doing this with the arms, which is really not rotating our torso at all. We have 2 exercises left. The next one is going to be our scapular abduction and adduction, abduction. So we're going to get into our quadruped position, knees under your hips and hands, wrists under your shoulders. And I want you to feel as if you were trying to imprint your spine on the ceiling. So we lengthen the spine. The head is in line with the rest of the spine. We have our natural curves, but we're trying to press our back body up against invisible air without rounding. So I'm not getting into a rounding position. I'm just feeling length and strength. And from here, we're going to learn how to move the scapula without moving the arms or the scapula or your shoulder blades. So what I want you to do is first to do a sinking motion, bringing the scapula together as close as you can. So this is our adduction, as we're bringing the shoulder blades together, and then come back to neutral. Good, let's do that again. We sink the chest. We're not bending the elbows. We're squeezing the shoulder blades together to sink that chest and push away. One more time. Sinking, squeezing, and releasing. Now let's go the other direction and let's abduct or take the shoulder blades away from each other. So push in your arms and those shoulder blades spread apart, and then come back to neutral. Good. Push the hands, shoulder blades spread apart, wider, getting a little roundness in your upper back, and back to neutral. One more time, rounding those shoulder blades and finding center. Good. And then let's just sit back and release our wrists for a second before we do our last move. So scapular abduction and adduction is important because we want to be able to move our spine without moving our shoulder blades or our scapula. And that is where we finish today with our cat-cow move. So we're back to quadruped position. And We want to have those neutral scapula. Now, we're going to round the back, but I don't want you to round the shoulders. So, what we're going to think about is that pelvic bowl, and we're going to roll that marble or push the water, bringing the pubic bone towards the hips, and then we're going to drop our chin. So we have a head nod, and we have that pelvic tilt, but we didn't do anything with our scapula. And then come back to neutral. So inhale here, and let's do that again. Exhale, pull that pubic bone up towards your navel, chin nod, so the head nods, keeping those scapula neutral, and back to neutral spine. One more time. So we're finding a C curve in our spine without compromising any movement in the scapula. Now let's do the opposite. So we're going to lift the tail, arching the back, and lift the chin. Good. And back to neutral. Let's do it again. Articulating the back, but not squeezing the scapula. Good. And back to neutral. One more time. Lift the tail, lift the chin. Everything else is neutral. We have this opposite C curve, or maybe a U in our spine. And let's just finish with one in each direction. So we have our cat. Tuck your tail under, drop your chin. Lift your belly button up into your spine so we really get that C curve. Come through neutral, lift your tail, lift your chin, make a bit of a U curve. Find your neutral and relax. So that takes us through all the fundamental movements of Pilates, kind of a pre-Pilates curriculum. And once you get comfortable with all those movements, you'll be well versed in your body's ability to move on to deeper Pilates training. So thank you for doing this, and keep working at it. And it was good to work out with you.